All right, everybody, welcome to the first of our 3-book series. I guess book live series. This one is Grimoire Lives. The name of the series is going to be the Books of the Craft.
There we go. And welcome to everybody catching on the replay. If you're here on the replay, comment throughout the live. As if it is live, I know I will read all the comments, and I'm very sure Angel will read all of the comments as well. So we will catch everything that you say. So feel free to comment all throughout it.
Yep.
And yes, Kelly, sometimes that many lives is sometimes it's a lot. I just definitely plan it.
Yeah, me too. Especially with having the podcast too. Sometimes I look at my calendar and I'm like, what am I doing?
Oh yeah.
All right, so just a quick heads up, since this is a series, this month is Grimoire, next month is going to be Book of Shadows, and then I got that. Yeah, no, I got that right. And then the final one's going to be Shadow Work. The Shadows was throwing me off.
Oh yeah. And what is the purpose of this series? The purpose of this series is to provide a basic understanding and help like set that foundation for what a grimoire is, how to use it, and just a lot more. It can be really helpful to beginners, and also it can be like inspiring to longtime users of the grimoire with ideas of revamping or maybe remotivating you to get back into some grimoire work. Continuing throughout the series, we're going to do a very similar live next month, like she just said, over the Book of Shadows. And that's going to be, again, a lot of introductory stuff, but we're going to have some more intermediate and advanced topics in there as well. And then, like she said, lastly, we'll be doing that shadow work journal. So let's dive in. What is a grimoire? It's basically your witch's cookbook, spell book, magic book, the guide to your craft. It's essentially a textbook that contains spells, rituals, instructions for your craft, creating anything magic. Information on pretty much anything such as deities, gods, goddesses, demons, divinations, etc. Ways to summon supernatural entities, and anything else a witch would want to pass on to a future witch. This book is very true to your craft, but it's not as like emotional and personal as you would see in that Book of Shadows. Without going into detail on what a Book of Shadows is, what's the difference between a Book of Shadows and a grimoire? It's pretty much that a grimoire is more of that textbook instruction manual, and a Book of Shadows is the more personal diary of one's craft. Also, that's usually less formal because it's only written for you.
And very chaotic sometimes too.
Very true.
My Book of Shadows I would never let anybody see because they don't make sense. It makes sense to me, but not nobody else. With grimoires, I like to do them like in categories too. So there's different styles, and actually it's really whatever you like. There's the traditional leather-bound journals that can be big or small depending on how you want to organize it, lined or unlined. Actually, a lot of books, I'm gonna use EA, a lot of books are actually grimoires too, because they will have like the spells and stuff as well. So books, textbooks, stuff like that. Yep, that literally says it too. Lined notebooks, leaf paper and binders, folders and accordion folders, junk journals. Well, I have one that I can show later on, and even like word processing programs. Some people keep their Book of Shadows grimoire on a computer. I'm jumping ahead.
I love that we both have a dream catcher in the background, by the way. I was looking at that. I love
And then I have my orca spirit animal too. Yep.
Very nice. And the big squishmallows. I'm loving it.
I got them when I was working at Claire's. Yep.
Nice. Also, everybody in the comments is talking about how they're super stoked or they're looking forward to this series. And so I'm so happy that everyone is so stoked and excited.
Me too. Absolutely.
I would love to talk about my great, great, great ancestors' grimoire. I'm going to butcher that. Gaelic. I didn't say that right. So I can, So I can read it. I'm learning Greek to read the other one. I had to thank the animals and the people that contributed before I brought it into my house because it's made of pigskin, and I'm not sure what all the inks are. And then, and Tina asks, would having a grimoire in Pinterest be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do with a grimoire, it can be as formal as you want it to be, or as laid back as you want it to be. It's personal to you, because what works for me or what works for Angel or you is all going to be different. All right, so what do grimoires include? This is not an all-encompassing list, but this is like a nice, good one. So ritual instructions, spells, information on such as animal spirits, guides, gods, goddesses, deities, demons, sabbats, specific beliefs, folklore, family, coven, or personal lore, veiled spells, tips for future self or future witches. Also include warnings for dangerous spells, might have warnings with them, usually on the page before the ritual, and also sometimes at the very beginning of the book, like on the table of contents, they'll be like, have like a symbol usually on the table of contents that like shows where all like the trigger warnings or like the watch out warning kind of things are going to be. Also with what worked and what didn't work, knowing like, well, this didn't work. I tried also this, it didn't work, but then I tried this and it did work. Kind of.
Right. So to get into a brief history, I had so much fun doing this. I actually looked up what was the first Grimoire, and this is just according to like my search, but it's actually the Book of Dead, which is a Egyptian book that is from about 1550 BCE. So this is like way back when. It's a collection of spells, prayers, and incantations intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife and ensure safe passage to the afterlife. The text was written on scrolls and placed in the tombs of the deceased. In terms of being a grimoire, the Book of the Dead can be considered one of the earliest examples of magical text. It contains numerous spells and rituals designed to protect the deceased from various dangers, such as in the afterlife, to help them achieve eternal life, because they believe that you are going to a better life afterwards. That's why when a pharaoh died, for example, they went with everything in their household. The spells cover a wide range of topics, including protection from demons, guidance through the underworld, and transformation of the deceased into divine beings. The Book of the Dead is not a single unified text, but rather a compilation of various spells and chapters that evolved over time. Different versions of the text exist with different spells and orders in them. One of the famous orders is Pius of Ani, which dates back to around 1250 BCE, and is currently housed in the British Museum. Ooh, I might want to go and see that. Overall, the Book of the Dead serves as a fascinating glimpse into the beliefs and practices of ancient Egyptians regarding the afterlife and using of magical texts. And the fun thing is that when I was doing this, you can still buy like copies of this book and go through it as well.
That is super.
Yeah. All right. Anybody say anything in the comments? I just can't see. I don't want to keep switching back and
Kelly says, I always appreciate hearing how others structure and arrange their grimoires. It's so fun to add new things. And then Story Elizabeth were talking about how they're going to learn languages together. And if you just heard a super weird noise, it's because my dog is literally inches behind the camera and she just took a big yawn.
Mine, of course, is on the floor like he always is. So if somebody knocks on the door, we may have him bark.
Yeah, she's like right behind the camera.
All right, so how did they start out? It's believed that grimoires originated from the ancient practice of recording magical knowledge and rituals. It comes from the old French word grimoire, which now I'm thinking of Wicca or Wicket every time I hear that name now. Early grimoires were collections of spells and instructions, although they were oral to begin with. So the very first spells and stuff were passed down by word of mouth, and then they were written into it. One attribute to powerful figures of getting grimoires together is actually King Solomon, and they, like I said before, they were passed down and put into a collection. All right, what is the world's oldest grimoire? Because that is different than the first. It's actually the Grand Grimoire. Considered one of the most famous and outrageous grimoires of black magic. So this is one of your darker ones. The Grand Grimoire is associated with some truly outlandish myths, authoritative, I cannot speak, manuscript that kept Victorian Vatican secret archives. So supposedly this one was kept in the Vatican secret, or in the secret archives. It's one of those ones that they wanted to keep away from the world. While it cannot be dated much sooner than the early 1800s, so there's a chance that even though this is claimed to be a super ancient text, it may not be. This is when it was translated by E. or A.E. White, and it omits a significant portion of the text. So I wonder what is in it that couldn't be seen. Apparently, it is attempted to render the remaining translations useless, if not destructive to the practitioners. So be very, very careful on taking a copy of this, because it's not the original text. So who knows if the warnings that I was talking about before are taken out or not. All superstition surrounding the Grand Grimoire is that justified by its contents. The defining ceremony of the book focuses on conjuring and making a pact with the devil. Once the pact is made, the conjurer can have unbridled power in his hands. And other instructions on it also has there are other instructions on making a philosopher's stone, enchanting firearms, and making making oneself invisible. And a lot more. It says that's a lot, but I think there's a lot more. But it seems quite diminutive as they follow up to summoning Lucifer. Perhaps the Vatican allegedly made the right move in taking out stuff. Now, from what I saw, supposedly the lore behind this book is that a monk made a pact with the devil to write like a book. And what they say, what would have taken 40 years, this monk took 48 hours in writing the book. And like it's thick, and there's actually a picture of the devil himself in it, because they believe that's actually who wrote the book. Yeah, so it's probably the oldest, because they have no clue when to date it back to, because the actual grimoire is locked away. So if you get your hands on anything, do not do anything in it, because it's missing parts.
Yeah, probably should not take instructions from a very half-written book.
Right?
Don't do that.
And I believe the Vatican will not let you in the room that it's in. Like, it was insane. Oh, I watched some YouTube videos on this one. It's insane.
That shit under lock and key.
Like, really under lock and key.
And then it really makes you wonder what all kind of stuff did they like take out.
Because from what it looked like the books that you can get or whatever are like that big, but from what it looked like, the picture of the actual book, it was like that.
Yeah, so pretty much if you think anything's crazy in that book, there's nothing comparison to what was taken.
Exactly. And then also while I was researching, I found something that had like the top 10 most ambitious grimoires in it. I was probably I have to keep track of this because some of them I talk later on. So the Grand Grimoire was number 1. So we already talked about that one. Another one is called I cannot say that. I think it's the Open Cat.
It'll be in chat.
Yeah, but I did Google, I Google translated that guy crazy because of it. It's actually a translation of the Latin edition of the Hindu Upanishads. It aims to produce wise visions. So I assume it's supposed to produce accurate visions. It has rituals to become one with the great being, and the practitioner tries to become the divine spirit or Ram Amta virtue that too. So basically for this, it's the Hindu's book on how to become divine. So your own god or a god. So the next book is the Sworn Book of Honoris. One of the oldest medieval grimoires. Excuse me, I just got a dog hair in my mouth.
I just read something that you saw. I laughed because I read something from later, and it made me laugh. Even though that's not the first time I read that, the second time I read it, I still made me laugh.
The price on it? Maybe we'll just go to that first.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself, guys. I'm jumping ahead.
Everybody's gonna want to know. We'll start with that. So you can buy this book, but the hard copy on Amazon, and this is me physically looking it up, is only $889. So not
for the Sworn Book. For the small price of.
Because I remember when I found that, I texted that to you, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, the price for this book!" And it's not big; it's like that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
The prologue claims to preserve the core teachings of sacred magic in the face of persecution. So this sounds like this book was originally made for witches to protect ourselves and to protect our craft. There are 93 chapters on everything from catching thieves to saving souls from purgatory. So it covered everything. It gives details on conjuring and commanding spirits. It also allows the user to know what the day and time of one's death, which I don't know if I would want to know that. Or you can become invisible. So either or both if you want to know.
Everyone in chat is saying time to play the lotto and luck spells, or what a steal, or what a bargain.
Right? I mean, if you want to know your own death, there you go. I don't know if I would want to know that, honestly. I have dog hair all over the place.
That's right. It happens with a dog.
Okay, so the next one is the Book of Abraham, aka the Book of Sacred Magic of Abraham the Mage. It's actually a letter. So this one's a letter that's to their son. It goes over how the author got all of their information for many chapters. There is a ceremony to call on spirits to do tasks and feeds for the summoner. And like some of the examples of this is, simple stuff like walking on water or turning men into animals, nothing too crazy. This one I could not find if there is a copy of it in Amazon. I think probably there is since there's so much known about it, but it's one of those ones that is a grand rites. And if anybody gets this book and can walk on water, let me know, because that is something I'm interested in.
Yeah, put it in the comments.
Right?
We need to know. That. We need to see that.
So then the next two are dark side. So then the next one is going to be the green. The Munich Manual of Demonic Magic, I will speak on farther down. And the Clavicle of Solomon, revealed by Tommy the Green. But he does not spell his name with a T. It starts with a P. So we'll put that in the chat as well. And then the next one is the Green Tablet. Or the Emerald Tablet, green, emerald, same thing. Emerald Tablet is the oldest documented source of text that is from Arabic work, written in about 8th century. So this is AD, so it's not as old as like the Book of Dead, but it's definitely really old. And it's on actual tablet. When I was looking at it, it's tablet. So like what you would think the 10 Commandments are written on, it's like that. It's
quite literally true.
Literally. People believe, and it's green, so I guess with the age it turned green. People believe that it was written by the third son of Adam and Eve, or it came from the lost city of Atlantis. And this tablet holds all the secrets to the universe. I did not see if they translated it or not. I am not 100% sure on that one. So the next one is this is going to be one that I cannot speak. Heptameron, we'll put that in the chat too. It's a guide to angelic magic. It dates back to medieval times, and it has a way to conjure angels 7 days a week. So you would conjure an angel every day, and they would do different tasks for them. One of the highlights was the angel from Wednesday, which reveals the past, present, and future. The next one is going to be De Nigmonica, which it actually translates to of necromancy. So that is a Spanish necromancy book. This one, actually, the way it looks is how you say it, and I was surprised. The next one is the Pictrix. The Pictrix is a 400-page document originally written in Arabic, which concerns itself with celestial magic. As the style of writing reflects that a student of the notebook, some historians ascribe to an unknown apprentice. So this is who they're talking about in the book, of the Middle East, of a Middle Eastern magic school. The central theme of the text is obtaining and channeling energy from the planets of the cosmos. The intention is to have the practitioner harness energy from the cosmos and use it to subjugate circumstances to his will, which means, I guess it's supposed to make it so that you rule your reality. The text borrows from numerology and astrology to guide the rituals needed for such magic. Unlike any Western grimoires, this book also includes bizarre recipes to be prepared for certain spells. I laugh because I could not find any examples of the bizarre recipes, or I would share it. But here's some of the ingredients. Ingredients for these recipes include all manners of bodily fluids and psychoactive plants. So I guess shrooms, all your hallucinogenics, and bodily fluids. That later
Of all
all
kinds.
kinds. It just says all of them. So, but like I said, I was hoping I could find one of the rituals, and I guess I just didn't look hard enough. The psychedelic plants may be the responsibility of some of the grimoires support supposed authoritativeness. So they probably hallucinated some of the stuff, is what the person that wrote the summary on said. And then, of course, the last one, number one, being the Grand Grimoire.
So a lot of people in the comments are saying there was so many books that they had never heard of, and that they didn't know that there was this many, and that it just sounds like some light reading for Sunday. And so I loved that. So yeah, like, that's just 10 that she pulled. There are thousands of grimoires throughout time.
Yep. Yeah, these are just like the ambitious ones too.
So yeah, you guys can take some of the titles that she said, and then you can go off and research on your own and find out so much more stuff, and then maybe find where it relates to different grimoires and so forth. So taking a little step back from the history and back to how us as individuals, you know, would use it. Let's start with who uses a grimoire. Pretty basic, but a grimoire, it could be one person, a witch or witchcraft practitioner, a pagan, and so forth, to record and document important things in their practice, which is usually done so to pass down eventually. They can also be used by or a group of witches to record spells, record things for the group or coven, and documenting lore and personal history of the group and coven members, which Angel will dive more into here momentarily. So what is a really basic difference of a personal grimoire versus a coven grimoire? So a personal grimoire is a record of a witch's personal experiences, personal spells, and are usually from one perspective, but given yourself. A personal grimoire that has been passed to you, usually you will either continue expand it. No information is removed, but another perspective can be added. So, for example, if a person above me passed on a grimoire to me after their death, then I'm not going to remove anything that they said. But if I want to add another page, stop, Abby, stop it. If I want to add another page and like date back to and be like, this spell that they wrote from this day, if it's dated, this was my experience with it. I'm not going to go alter what they wrote.
However, with coven and group grimoires, these have multiple perspectives. Again, nothing is ever taken out, but you could have one spell with like 15 different ways to do it within the grimoire. They may add their own personal spells to it, as well as stuff that they found very beneficial and they feel would be beneficial to the coven. There's group rituals, a lot of group rituals. I know a coven that I'm talking to that actually they will add whatever ritual they do that's new to their coven grimoire as they do it. You'll add personal rituals that you feel will benefit your coven, and then again there'll be many different perspectives put on those. So people will try your personal ritual and then they will give in their own view on those as well. So it's like a big old mosh pod of all the different spells and possess of everybody that's ever been in the coven, because this will get passed down by generation by generation by generation, and usually there's always somebody that protects it as well.
So where do you use your grimoire? Anywhere that you want. Anywhere that you're practicing or studying your magic. Maybe it's at your altar, maybe it's outside, maybe it's in your kitchen while you're cooking something, maybe it's in the woods. Literally, wherever you feel safe and comfortable to work in your grimoire, work in it.
All right, and then how do you use it? So we're going to break this up again in personal and in groups.
Before you dive into that, I want to read this question because it goes to the last thing. Kelly says, are coven grimoires still still predominantly handwritten, or are they usually
I
digitized?
think it depends on the coven. I personally am huge on handwriting it. I'm kind of like with our letters and witches as well. I feel like there's more magic in handwriting a grimoire than typing it up.
But then I would say probably to fold that, if it's a coven where people are far away, they might have a physical copy as well as a digital copy. So that people can like add to it, but then maybe one of the members has a physical
Yep.
copy. But like she said, it would probably
Yeah.
depend. And then Sherry said, now we have some goals to do, and I'll let you
Yep.
keep going.
All right. So personally, you would be writing in it, referencing it, or passing it down. Like I personally am starting one that I'm going to show you shortly that I plan on passing down, if not through my son, through hopefully he marries somebody that practices, and it would go down through my family. If not, it'll just go down if I end up in the coven. It would just be my personal book going to somebody that I like mentor so it can keep going as well. Take key aspects from a personal book of straddles and move it into the official grimoire. So with this, you would take while your personal bookshelves is like your diary, you will take stuff that really stood out to you that you want to find and put it in your grimoire, because usually you go through a book of shadows faster than you do grimoires. So this way you don't. I have 15 book of shadows, probably more, but ones that are completely full front to bottom. So it would be hard for me to look for that one spell that I did 15 years ago in all my Book of Shadows, whereas I can look in my grimoire and go to my kitchen witcheries section and pull out the recipe or something like that as well. This is less of notes and experience and more of your proven facts and rituals, and having fact and history pages and less for teaching the path as well. So it's definitely more like if you want to look at a grimoire as being more educational, even to yourself, than a diary. Okay, and then for the groups, it's going to be all your joint. Wow, I almost said June. Joint experiences on rituals that were done within the coven, because again with magic we could all do the exact same ritual, but we may have 15 different feelings, energies, outcomes too. So it's nice to see a nice little collection of what happened to everybody that took part in that ritual. Each member will add their own magic to the pages. That's why I was talking about the handwritten stuff, because you put more energy into it as handwriting. But I think me typing up something also would be putting my energy into it too. And it can be used as historical records of the coven as well.
So now, following right off of what she said with how to use it, when do you use your grimoire? When to write in it would be like very similar, but when to write in it would be when you're documenting those spells and rituals that you've completed, whether they failed or they were a success, writing in it. But if it's one that failed, write how it failed or why it failed. Things like that would be beneficial from a learning perspective. Because like she was talking about, it's not the diary, like this is how I feel about how it failed. It's more of what from learning, what can we learn from the fact it failed or how it went successfully. When you're researching information and you want to have like a page that is about like okay, let's say you're studying demonology and you want to have a page of the 72 demons when you're referencing, that could be something that you have. Clean, nice information to reference would be that. Not like hodgepodgey information, but easily referenceable information. Or if you want to go through each of the Sabbats, you have a section where you go through those. Adding warnings or tips for your future self or future witches. And then after creating a recipe, you could document it and write it down, or adding a documentation or like a timeline of your spiritual journey, kind of like your personal lore or your personal adventure. You could just have a small section that if someone was to get your grimoire after you passed, they could see like, okay, this was the journey that they went through, not like the personal stuff, but like your stepping stones, so to speak, or your achievement list, whichever one. And then when to reference your grimoire could be before completing a spell or ritual that you've previously done, when you want to recreate a recipe, searching for previous information that you've already studied, just referencing back, or if you want to see your family, coven, or personal spiritual journey or achievement. And Maggie said she loves hearing others'
I love that. Me
perspectives.
too. Absolutely, because we're all different, so everybody's gonna have a different view as well. Now, I have some prompt ideas for those of you just starting out, kind of some things to put in. These are actually stuff that I'm going to be giving to you either through past lives. Yes, thank you. They're not all encompassing, but these are my personal ones that I'm already giving them to you through past lives or future lives to kind of start you off. So, for example, I did that abundance spell, and I always try to give you guys the PDFs for it. I'm actually trying to figure out how to upload those, so I will do that. I have an upcoming self-care ritual, which is something that I feel like is really important to have in the grimoire, because sometimes we just get into a place magically where we have to take care of ourselves. Protection blend is another one. Different herbal blends. For example, this is not limited to, but like my New Year, New You, New Abundance blend. Then like a protection herbal blend or a healing herbal blend and stuff like that would be great to have in it as well. And then recipes. So if you're more into your cooking, you have your different recipes that work. For example, would be my Yule time ham grace. Thank you. And also there are actual like recipes and stuff like that and rituals posted through other lives with many of the other clones. We're clones now, Sarah. Crones, for example.
Interesting.
Right? Actually, let me see if I have it.
Elizabeth, I know Jody does a Jody does a
Yes.
Google Classroom for all of her notes for her lives. But I do know that Angel is working on getting a PDF copy of like a grimoire page that you would use for her different like spells
Yep.
and stuff. And then other people that don't do Google Classrooms, some of us will write down in the descriptions of our live, these are all the ingredients and these are quick steps. Or we'll try to make it like super clear in the live, the things that you would want to
For
write down.
example, this is one of the lives from Crystal. I believe it was Crystal. Yeah, it's the lavender spell. So yeah, so I just wrote it down on a piece of paper while she was doing it, and then I will actually add it to my grimoire in a little bit.
Here we go. This is the first one that I found, so I'll use this one. This is a page in mine where is crystals to reference for luck, wealth, and prosperity, and it's from one of Jody's lives. It's definitely an older live, but it's just a nice list of crystals that, like, if I just quickly want a crystal that is luck or wealth or prosperity related, I can reference this and be like, this is the one I think I'm gonna vibe with, just if I want a quick reference. And that's just something like while she was talking in her live, I just wrote it down. That's why I love the replays, because I'll like pause it like a million times while I'm watching to like scurry and write it down.
So basically what we're saying is we are, as a team of all crones, we are giving you pages for your grimoires in our lives. All right. So any other comments before I go on to the dark side?
Maggie, what are your thoughts on grimoires that are made in a pre-made? I have seen so many on Etsy. They have empty sections to add in. Some people have been asking me, and I did not have an answer for them.
I actually am going to be sharing some links to them. I think if you need help, or even if you just want to have a pretty pre-made one, somebody did those spells. Somebody put their heart and soul into making these PDFs for you. It would be just the same as a digital grimoire.
You could say maybe if someone's worried about it not being personal to them, if it's a pre-made one, go through and annotate it like a book. Take like a pen, mark things, like put a line through something if that does not resonate with you at all whatsoever. Right next to it, you can annotate the heck out of those things. Sherry said that's exactly how she is with her notes. And then what Elizabeth typed made me think of this. If you can't figure out how to upload a PDF to the Facebook, you could just pull it up on Google Docs, take a screenshot on your laptop, and then copy the picture and then pop it.
Well, what I'm thinking, I'm going to do a file, just drop them all in the file and just post a for everybody to use link, so it's run and grab it. So that's what I think I'll do, because I'm constantly going to be adding to it now too.
Yeah, and if it's a file, then you can just keep pulling. Makes sense.
All right, on to the dark side of grimoires. All right, so these have things like demonology, working with the dead, hexes and curses, Dark Path textbooks and books. It covers the heavier energy workings. This could be considered left-hand path from practitioners as well. Some examples of this are, they're all going to come from our ambitious books. We're just going to dive deeper into it. The first one is going to be the Munich Manual of Demand. I cannot talk. That tongue-tied me so much. The Munich. This is from the 15th century. It's a grimoire. Breaks tradition by concerning itself solely with evocation of demonic spirits, and then ignoring everything that has to do with angels and folklore and less eerie spirits. Excuse me. So from what I got from this one's one of those really deep, heavy, dark, like dark. So if you do not want to get into that type of stuff, this would not be a book for you. The book classifies its experiments as illusionary, psychological, or divinary. The illusionary experience can make a thing appear as something it is not, allows the user to become invisible, or make the dead appear to be alive if you wish so. The psychological experience grant the user influence over the mind and wills of others, and the divinary experiments involve the cooperation of demons to know all things past, present, and future. So this book, definitely, I'm going to put a really, really heavy warning on it. This is one that seems like it will mess with other people's will. So if you are not a person that is okay with that, completely avoid this guy. He's dark. All right, so the next one is the clavicle. I don't know why that always sounds weird to me. Of Solomon, revealed by Tommy the Green. This is basically a retelling of the Infinite Key of Solomon. It's the most influential grimoire in existence. The book details some very broadly named experience of invisibility, love, and envy and destruction, mocking and laughing, and grace and interpretation. So I guess it goes through everything where it has blasphemy from what I get from mocking and laughing. And it's left solely up to the interpretation. One of these categories will cover every lofty thing a practitioner magic can think of. We already talked about the Grand Grimoire and how dark that guy is. The last one is gonna be the I keep wanting to call it of necromancy because my brain keeps translating it. I can read and write Spanish, but I can't speak it. Necromanica, which means of necromancy. My brain keeps wanting to translate that. The title refers to necromancy. The book offers instructions on practices following from necromancy. The text focuses on ceremonial magic, specifically with the branch known as the Goetia. So this is another one that can get really dark depending on your comfort level. For summoning less, sorry, I lost my spot. Less animal spirits. So again, it goes to where they may not have the best intentions. So if you dive into this one, make sure you have a lot of protection, warding, and you're ready to cleanse. One example of those spirits is the rafts. To aid the process, several illustrations of sigils, pentagrams, and seals are provided. So they'll give you the seal or the sigil of whatever spirit you're working with. All right, let me get a drink and we can check the comments.
And Anita says that's how she feels when she wants to speak both languages at once.
Yeah, my brain like was translating. I'm like, stop. She's actually the one that tries to force me to speak Spanish too, because I hate speaking it. So me even attempting to do it is huge for me. And I know I killed it, even though I know how to say it. But my brain literally was sitting there translating it. I'm like, stop translating. All right, so here are some misconceptions. Are they cursed? Usually, no. But with that being said, once in a while somebody may curse their grimoire. So if you get your hands on one and it makes you feel uncomfortable, it may be because there's something a little bit heavy on it. So I would cleanse or even get rid of it, depending how you feel about it. But normally, no, they are not cursed. They're supposed to help more than harm. I know, she wants me to actually read what I said. Alright, so my answer that I heard when I was answering was, no, usually no, they can be assholes that do. So she wanted me to actually say that.
I love how she typed it. She typed it so straightforward. So I was like, we need to
because
add
it was,
that.
I made my notes, and that was one of those ones that I wanted to speak on. So literally, this is how it says in my notes. Usually, no, but there can be assholes that do.
Yeah.
Another misconception is they're only for dark works. No, they are more of a collection of what works or doesn't work. So it can be light, dark, in between. Another example that I have of it is one of my grimoires is actually my Material Medica, which is all healing stuff too. So it can be a little in between too. Will there? Where am I? They're on. Okay. Okay. They will have do's and don'ts to help the reader succeed as well. Another belief is they can't be passed down. A grimoire is more likely to be handed down and passed to others. The personal book of shadows. Thank you. Can you summon it? Another misconception is just using it summons demons. This is a myth. There is a lot more to summoning demons than just having a book. So just because somebody gives you a grimoire, even if it has some of the darker stuff in it, it does not mean you are going to attract that stuff. If you don't want to read that part, just skip through it and go to the spells and rituals that you want to use. You will not summon a demon just by touching it. And then another misconception is grants instant magical skills, spells manifest. I wish. I'm actually reading my notes how I wrote it. I put, I wish. I wish this was something. I wish movie magic was true too. They are tools in casting and doing rituals. There are many outside factors to how fast or slow a spell manifests.
Yeah, I want to comment on that a little bit. Yeah, no, even if the grimoire has a ritual and instructions on how to summon demons, if you just open the book, it does not just happen. That is 1,000% a Hollywood thing. We're not opening books and monsters are not jumping out. That is not happening. Also, you don't just get a grimoire in your possession and all of a sudden absorb all of the knowledge. I wish that's how books in general worked. If I could just read the book and just like suck in the information because I just like open it, that would be crazy. That would be insane. But that is Hollywood. That is not how it works. You can do a spell that is successful in a grimoire and it not be successful for you, and it can also not be the grimoire's fault. It could just be maybe you were doing a spell when your energy was -10. Like there's a lot of factors that could go into it. And Kelly says, "Man, that would make summoning so much easier." Your phone did not want to see that. So let's hop into some different ideas or tips when working on a grimoire. Allowing yourself to have a working grimoire. I will show a big old example of this in a minute when we get to the end. But having a working grimoire so that way you don't feel so like pressured for it to look perfect is super helpful, because maybe you're like, oh man, I really want to add this to my grimoire, but you know, I like my grimoire pages looking like the Mona Lisa, so it's going to take me a long time to get it in there. I don't have the time for that right now. That can be really limiting to how often you work on it. Kelly laughed at the timing of your phone falling when you were pretending. That was great timing. Another tip is including things that are sent from pen pals or other witches. Again, I have some examples of that I'm going to show at the end. If you see something you like online, or you're taught in Unseen, or in Where Witches Roam, Witches Al Exchange, or Unseen Witches, there's a boatload of information. If you see something and you're like, yeah, I really like that, you can take it, you can print it, you can take a picture of it and then print it, you can write it down, whatever you want. You can buy little bundles from places like Etsy of different like images that you want to add in, different like information charts. If you want to like buy like a pretty chart of the Wheel of the Year and like pop it in there, like whatever you want. If you feel like you're able to write your own spells and test them out and then add them, you can take your time though. It can take years or decades or your entire life to fill a grimoire. I'm just gonna say it. Hot take coming from over here. Big hot take, personal opinion. Nobody come after me in the comments below. But personally, I feel if you're racking and you're filling like 12 grimoires a year, I'm gonna have a sneaky suspicion that you might have not tested everything in that. It might just be you trying to mass produce something. Taking a grimoire takes time. It's not like you're writing a journal. It's not a race. You're not competing to see how many grimoires you can make a year. It's the quality, not the quantity. Also, remember this is your book. Make it your own. Don't worry about what others are doing. Don't worry about what theirs looks like. Don't be like, oh, mine's not as pretty as hers, so mine's trash. I know some of us have some perfectionist issues. Maybe you're doing it. Maybe you draw a line and it's crooked. Don't feel like you need to rip the page out, okay? I'm talking to myself right here. Just because something's messed up, you don't need to rip the page out. You don't need to restart it. It's okay. It'll be okay. There's no right or wrong. Yeah, I'm preaching to us right here, preaching to the choir. There's no right or wrong way to write it. Your handwriting is fine. Okay, we can read it. We don't need to be like, oh, it's not the most perfect handwriting. I'm not doing it in a feathered pen with the most beautiful ink ever. It'll be okay. It's just doing what feels right for you. Sherry says, I'm so guilty of this. I had a feeling a lot of us were, so I really wanted to share it. Breaking it up into sections. You can use ribbons. You can use page tags. You can use dividers. I'll show you an example of that. You can use different colored ink. So you could write all of the different sections in one colored ink. Angel writes in pencil, and then she goes over it in ink later if there aren't any lines. Like unlined paper, I'm assuming, because a lot of us sometimes will write a little, we'll be writing, and then all of a sudden after unlined paper, you're like, huh, why is it all at like a 45-degree angle? The words are just sliding down the hill. Draw pictures or add in pictures so you can have a guide later on. If you're not good at drawing, stick figures are a-okay. I guarantee you, someone that got your grimoire is not going to be like, hee, ha, 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 they suck at drawing. I doubt it. I don't think that's going to happen. And if so, F them, they're not nice people. But Misty says, I can't even start a grimoire because I can't figure out how I want to organize it. That's where I recommend working grimoires. Using loose leaf sheets of notebook paper. Because then you can have it in a folder. You could have it in an accordion folder. You could have it in a darn Ziploc bag if you really needed to. You could have it in just like a Tupperware container with like a lid. They have like those big ones. You could just set all your notebook paper in there. You could have it in a binder. And then you could change how you want to organize it 30 times over. Sherry said, don't want to see how much paper is recycled when I write letters, LOL. Kimberly said, I've started and have like a table of contents, but I want to start it in a binder. Okay, before I keep reading, I'm going to comment on this. If you're trying to organize it and you're doing a table of contents and you keep feeling overwhelmed because you keep having to change it, then don't do a table of contents until you're done. Yeah. Table of contents is while you're working on things. I learned this as a writer. Okay, so when I'm writing a long piece of writing, I'll want to do a table of contents in the beginning to organize it, but then I end up just getting so irritated because the amount of times I'm changing the chapters and I'm altering things, it gets really confusing. So you could use like a binder clip. They're like the metal clips with the things that go over. You could just get different colored ones or plain ones and write spells. And then take all your loose leaf paper and clip it on there that are all spells. And it can just be like a stack of paper, like clipped together so they don't fly everywhere. And he said, I can't draw, but I use stickers. Stickers and printouts are great options. Kelly said, I use binders. I have so many binders so I can arrange and rearrange freely. Yes, binders is I swear by. When I show you my working grimoire, it's in a big old binder. And I have quite a few extra binders just on standby in case I decide that I need to change it. Misty says, I like the idea of binders. Why didn't I think of that? That's okay. That's why we're here. We're giving suggestions. And Sherry says, page flags work too. Page flags work too. I write when I am writing so I can flip to it. Let's hop down to some different resources and then I'll read your question afterwards, Kimberly, because it kind of answers. So some different resources on if you're trying to find out what to write in your grimoire. Here are 2 lives. There are probably more where things are just mentioned loosely in them, but these are 2 lives that very heavily talk about grimoires. So in guide 56, this number is subject to change. Every single month we add one to the guide, the number will change. But it just shows you roughly how far down it is. Guide 56, it's the name of the live is book BOS/Grimoire/journals, and it's posted by Gina, and it was posted on August 30th, 2021. So you can search it up in Unseen, and you can watch it, and she goes over a lot about Grimoire. And in guide number 1, also subject to change. I got so distracted. It's working with Decacabra and the 72 geotic demons. No, I said that wrong. Goacious, thank you. I said that so wrong. By Sarah Lee, anyways. And she posted that this month, like a couple of days ago. Probably like a week ago at this rate. But it was this month. So those are 2 different lives that you can check out. Also, there are many, many, many different books and videos. Jenny typed out the pronunciation, but I'm dumb, and even when people do that, I still have a hard time reading it. So I'm not gonna try to say the word again. I butchered it twice. Sarah Lee's gonna beat me up when she hears how I said that. Just kidding. She's a sweetheart. She'll probably just say it and tell us how to say it. But there are a lot of different books, websites, and videos that come up with different things that people put in theirs, and that can inspire you of what to put in yours. Also, reaching out to fellow witches, like here in the comments below. You can be like, hey, these are some cool things I have in my grimoire. Maybe you want to put it in yours or something like that. You know what I mean? Also, like I said earlier, the sister groups, WOE, WWR, in this one, UWS. Let's see. And there we go. Now we get to hop into the fun stuff.
Now it's time for the examples. So we're going to start with this guy. Can we see him?
Oh, yeah.
This is the one that was talking.
He's so big.
Really big. I mean, this is my hand.
I was not expecting it to be that big from the picture that you said. Because I've seen that exact book, but like in like this size before at the store, not the huge.
My dog wants to jump up, and I'm like, so yeah. So this is the one I'm going to hand down. So that's an example of how this is like my final copy. This is the one that's getting handed down for consideration.
In the comments, people are loving it. We have I want one that big, and someone said damn, someone said I want one of those. There's a lot of exclamation points. People are loving it. Oh my. OMFG, yes, exclamation point times a million of those.
Amazon for like $100. There's one that's on there that's like $25, but it's small. I actually got mine for more than $100. It was at a local shop, but then when I saw it on Amazon, I was like, well, dang it. But yeah, you just want to make sure that I'll have to get dimensions. You just have to make sure it's like really, really big.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've learned my lesson with buying not a book before. It was actually a sign. I have a witchy soliciting sign that says like no soliciting or you'll be like sacrificed to the old gods or something like that. Because I don't like it when people are ringing my doorbell at crazy hours. But I didn't read the dimensions. I thought it was big and it's like tiny. So yeah, so make sure you read dimensions. I love that.
So then this is the one that I'm currently starting. I'm going to be working with Lilith. So I am using this book.
Oh, that's beautiful? So pretty. I love that. That's gorgeous. That's like really detailed too.
It's gorgeous. Let me grab the other ones. Now that we're showing this off, I'll have to get who it was from. I got them from TikTok. Now that TikTok's down.
Elizabeth said, holy crapola, sheesh, I want one. Story said, yeah. Jenny said, they have them at Earthbound Trading Company too. Sherry said, I want to get one of these. I'm going to paint it myself. That would be so cute. Oh my gosh, I just want to say this. If you're painting it yourself, you can paint a sigil and then paint your thing over it because then you can't even see the sigil, but like it's there.
I'm gonna let you out. Hold on one second. I'm gonna let the dog out because he's driving me insane.
Sounds good. But yeah, no, that last one that she showed with the deer on it, that's so beautiful. And it's like very like clear. Oh my gosh.
This is for necromancy.
Okay, the one with the house. Yes. The one with the house is probably my favorite. Probably because like I love like Monster House and Coraline and all of those things. I love that so much. But yeah, that one's so pretty too.
I'll have to share it. They were on TikTok, but now that TikTok's back up, I'll be able to share it and give you the link to it.
Yeah, they try to give us all a scare for just a minute.
And then I'm also starting for my herbalism, a junk journal. So I've only done the page for it. So like it's just one of these type of notebooks. And that's the backside, isn't it? No? Is it?
Thanks for letting us no, Maggie. She just said that she's still here. She's just multitasking.
And then that's the junk to her.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're just gonna fill in some like facts with it.
So like the to-do list will be like a fact, and then I'll do like a little sticky note here. And this is more just gonna be for like blends and small stuff because it is really small.
Kelly says those are so cool. Tina says, Sarah, I just looked up the purple one that you have shown at the beginning, and I might get that book. Whenever I'm showing my examples in a couple minutes, I'll talk about that book some more. But Story says that she has one of those types of books for her herbs. And Elizabeth says, nice, and thank you for showing the deer one again. And Elizabeth, yes, it is Poe. He joins us for all of our lives, usually. Except for once or twice, because I was having some crazy technical difficulties. But yeah, he's usually here.
And then, of course, I have just my loose paper as it falls all over the place.
Story says she got Ziploc bags and put a little bit of each herb with each page.
I love that. That's really smart.
He says, hello, Jenny.
All right, that's it for my stuff.
All right, so I'm going to show this book off just a little bit more because I know we did mention it. I showed it in the beginning. It was an example of how certain books can be a grimoire in itself. It is by Lydia Pradas. She's a creator of a social media account. It's called Wiccan Tips. I'm not Wiccan. This book has a lot of Wiccan stuff in it, but there's still a lot of other stuff. So basically, it's like a very, very, I've got like cards in it everywhere, so they're probably going to come leaking out. But it's like a very, very basic book where it goes over like the different elements. It goes over like chakras, chiromancy, crystal grids. It's a very basic introduction to picking up, you know, the witchcraft path. It goes over chakras and all sorts of stuff. So I don't usually recommend books, honestly, but this is one that I would recommend. Like, yeah, there's some stuff in there that I'd be like, maybe not. But a lot of the information is very basic to where it's fine. Like, it goes over each Sabbath in just like a little bit of detail. And so I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. It has like some herbs and all sorts of stuff. So it has like a basic examples of different deities. So yeah. I would check it out. It's pretty good. So, jumping into, before I show my big working grimoire, I'm going to talk about those pen pal examples. And Angel, I'm going to single you out for a second. Angel sent me these. So, these are something that I would totally want to add. They're little recipes like chocolate crinkle cookies, snowball cookies. They're different Yule recipes, by the way, if I didn't say that. Honey glazed ham. Find another one. Cranberry sauce, peppermint bark, you get the idea. They're just little recipes. And so let's say, you know, one Yule, I'm going to do, you know, a recipe page or whatever. I could take this recipe, like let's say I'll use honey glazed ham, because that's on the top. So let's say for one Yule, I'm going to do honey glazed ham. See, I could just put it in there and then put down the things that I do for that Yule as like a page. I could do that. Or I could take the honey glazed ham as a recipe, and then I could incorporate my own magic and make a ritual using this recipe and then do a page on it. So that's one example of pen pal things. These are from Miss Cheyenne. So, you know, whenever you catch me on the replay, Cheyenne, talking about you. She sent me some Yuletide hot cocoa mix and then some French vanilla hot cocoa mix. So again, some Yuletide examples of things that I could use. Here's another one. I don't know who sent me this. So sorry, I forgot who sent me this, but someone sent me this and I've kept it and it will go in there. It's a Samhain spell jar. And so it gives like some examples of the things that go in the spell jar. And it also says why it goes in the spell jar, which is so helpful. Because it's not just like, okay, well, here's a list of things you put in there. That's nice. But like, it tells you why you're putting them in there. And here's one more thing. Someone sent me this. It's a nice big old strength card. I love it. It's big. I love
that. Oh, yeah.
So when I do a page, because I'm gonna have pages for every tarot card, I can I can paste this on there, and it'll be so nice. Because let's say I'm referencing the imagery, I can literally just write right next to it of the imagery that you can see on it.
I need to find that. I need like a deck of that to use so that when I'm doing my notes.
Because originally, yeah, I was gonna use a deck, but what I decided to do now is I collect tarot stickers. If anybody puts a sticker of a tarot card in like a pen pal letter to send to me or whatever, I keep it in a specific baggie because I'm going to use those in my final grimoire or like paper cutouts also.
Oh, I love that.
Atina says, I love them. I also got some and I did try some of them out. I'm assuming she's talking about the recipes from you. And then Sherry said, I have mine and added them to a recipe box for now so I can test them out. Chocolate crinkles are amazing, by the way. Yeah, see, like I wouldn't just add this whole stack to my grimoire. I would probably put these in like a recipes to try. But then, like, if I did one, then I would add it. You know what I mean? Sherry said, note to self. Maggie said, that's awesome. I've got tarot cards sent with letters, and I have them in a drawer, but great idea to add them in. Sherry said, oh, not Sherry, sorry. Story said, oh, awesome. Sherry said, note to self. But yeah, I keep them all. Well, all the witchy stickers I actually keep, because when I'm going to do my final grimoire, I'm going to add them in on the pages that they make sense with. Like if someone sends me a witch's hat and I have a page that mentions a witch's hat, I'm going to add the sticker because I freaking love stickers. But the tarot cards specifically, I have for the tarot pages. Let's see what else I'm going to show. Okay, so speaking of having a bunch of random little pages, here's some books. And you want to know the cool thing about these books? Let me make sure nothing crazy is going to jump out. Yeah, they're not books. Okay, also, I didn't pull it out, but right here, above my hand, I have a big-ass book. It's a Paris book. I know that one's full of crap, so I didn't pull it out. It's open, just like this one, and I can put things for specific ones. Like, let's say one is for recipes, one is for whatever the heck I want it for. Like, this one has stained pages that are blank stained pages, because then I can pull a page out and write on them, but they're kind of delicate. So that's why I have them in here. So I can use them for storage, but then they still like look cute and I can put them in my witchy space and like how nice.
I love those.
Ross, Home Goods, those like discount stores or thrift stores. Because I don't remember what year, but like way back whenever, people used to love these things. So a lot of times in like older thrift stores, you can find them. And then in like those like Ross and like it's next to, they're usually next to Ross. I don't remember what it's called. Yes, it's Marshalls. You can find a lot of the Marshalls. Let me grab some stuff from chat real quick. Story says, I did a beer butter recipe that came from a pen pal, so good. Sherry says, I love those. Kelly says, stickers are definitely such a great idea. I've definitely going to start using the ones I've gotten from Row. Brilliant. Yeah, that's why I love using those for that. Sherry says, I have two of those Paris books. One is full of paper and the other one and pictures, and the other one is empty. Maggie said, I found several at thrift stores. Story said, go to Ross in a fancy neighborhood. Very true. The nicer the neighborhood, or also just whatever area that the thrift store is in, you're obviously going to get things cultivated to that area. Sherry says Walmart has them every now and again with the seasonal sections. That is very true. I can find like Christmassy ones during Christmas time, but they're usually kind of overpriced. Oh, I will say, if you go to Dollar General, after any holiday is over, the books that are empty don't usually sell out. And you can usually get them discounted, so that's what I do. Oh yeah, Maggie, also Dollar Tree had more of cardboard style, but they were tarot themed. I kept my deck in those. Yeah, the dollar stores usually get them also. I have this, which is not something for a grimoire, but it's what I use when I'm working on things for a grimoire. I have this little clipboard, and I will draw things, like here's some flowers, and I will use this, and then I'll insert that into my grimoire. So this is not something that's going to go in my grimoire, because I didn't want to have something I was actively working on, but this is just like literally a receipt paper. It just was drawing some flowers on. But I do use this specific clipboard usually for working on witchy little things, because it's just a nice little one. Lastly, some things that you might want to include in your grimoire is everybody gets these cards. I picked some specific ones that I just, felt maybe called that people would want to see out of mine. So we could put little cards in our grimoire. This one says control, link your own constellations and take control. You could add this to a grimoire page. Forgive yourself. If you're doing affirmations or you're doing a spell work page, you could add that one. This one is a crystal card. It's a bunch of information about malachite. So if you're doing a page about malachite, you could add this card there. Here's a crone card. I had to throw that in there because, had to do it. The wisdom befriends the honor in which weaves the blood A heroine call from the depths of your sacredness is what the card says. You could add
Mhm.
this to a page. And then here is another crystal card. So you could just add those in there. And I wanted to include those because I know
Mhm.
a lot of people have those. So here's my working grimoire. Oh yeah. So things are gonna fly out of here, so I gotta be careful with that. So I have some random loose pages, you know. Oh, right here. I pulled my sigil notes from a while back because I had doodled something on there and I wanted it from when I was making a sigil and I didn't feel like putting it back where it went, so it's just stuck in the front for now. But that's
Yep.
very realistic. Most people's aren't perfectly organized. I've got papers
Yep.
flying everywhere. So I've got these dividers. So I have mine in some sections. I have some loose paper at the front. I have lots of dividers. It's definitely 2 packs of dividers. This is a jade ring before somebody eventually wants to ask. So this is all of my lives that I've done. Like I have my visualization series. So this is where all of those visualization meditations that I do for you guys, I sit there and I write them out. I have to because I have to work out the world. I have to work it out on paper and then I have to make sure you can actually get there. So then I have to practice the meditation for you guys. And then I have to edit the meditation so that there's always scribbles. So yeah, those meditation lives are a lot of work. So I make sure that I include them. And then these are all other lives that, you know, I've worked on because I want those in there. And then I have like a very beginner section, like paganism, Wiccan, witchcraft. I did take out a lot of stuff because I didn't want to accidentally flip onto a really personal page because that'd be awkward. So it is a little skinnier. There's a bunch of crystal notes. And see, here we go. Here's a great example. If I get it from Unseen, I write what I get it from, I write the name of the live, and I write who I got this information from.
I do that too.
And then some cleansing sections, some basic correspondences section. This is all like elixirs and tinctures and things like that. This is, ooh, don't fly, connecting to like the earth, death magic. So this is a lot of like darker stuff. There's probably like death magic, sex magic, demons, stuff like that. And then so we follow into like our love, our lust, and a bunch of different spell work. Here, this was from Cheyenne's live, Cernonos Wellbeing Bowl, because I really liked that. Some like wand working, and then some like moon and ritual notes, and then my list of people I have for owls is in my bag. So those are that's like an edited version of my working grimoire, because I did remove a lot of stuff because grimoires are also, you know, kind of personal, so I didn't want to like fly into something on accident while I was flipping through. But that's like an example of some different sections that you have. But as you can see, I can change those all around because they're all just, you know, chilling right here, so I can flip through them. Jerry says a lot of work, but worth it. And she's talking about my meditation lives. Yeah, I'm so glad to be doing those. I'm definitely going to do a lot of those. The story says I do that too. I time mark things I want to go back to. So my last thing is to show some final copies of what grimoires could be. So here's one. It's got like a little flower, got a little key over here. This is what she looks like.
I love that.
And then it is just blank paper in here. And then it's filled like that. And then in the very back, you have spots that you can have like loose leaf things in there. That's an example of what one could look like. These are all ones that I keep tucked over there on my altar space. So if I'm ever turned that way, they're where that big empty hole is now. Here's another one. I really like these leather bound ones. And this one, let's go about halfway through, is blank paper here as well. Very similar inside style. Here's a different style one. This one is from China. I had someone I knew who lived in China, and when they came back, they brought this back for me. So this is what it looks like. It's very pretty lined paper. It's got these like metal gold edges. It's absolutely beautiful. She's very small. She's like a deity, god, and goddesses is what like kind of things would go in here because it's just like the vibe it gives me. And then we have this cute one. This one was gifted to me by a witch that I knew a long time ago. He gifted me this, and it was very nice. So it has lined paper throughout it, and then it has spots for dates. So those are all my examples I have. Elizabeth says, so cool. I've always wanted just a stereotypical witch's book with old-looking paper, thick and imposing looking.
So we have come to the end of our lie. All right. So in summary, seem to be very similar. They're very different books. As we talked about today, a grimoire is more of a collection of facts and processes and rituals and less personal. They have both a light and dark side and have been around for as long as humans have been, if not in written paper, in oral tradition. I found the history on them to be so fascinating while I was researching it. That's why we had such a thick history part, especially those books. And I researched other parts, but I found those 10 ambitious books so fascinating. Let's see here. You don't have to be an adept to start one. You can be a beginner. Actually, I recommend as soon as you decide to start the craft, to start a grimoire in the Book of Shadows. They are not scary or cursed or bad. However, I do recommend that you have your tested and proven rituals and spells in the final copy. Don't do anything that you're not sure of and put it in your final copy, because what if you go down the road to actually do it and you don't know the results? You don't want to have something go sideways. That's for our working grimoire. They are a very important tool for a practitioner to have for witchcraft. I think one of my most important parts of my witch's toolbox is my grimoire, because it's like my go-to for everything. We gave you a few tips and hits to get you started or to add to your current grimoires. I absolutely love sharing this with everybody today. Thank you so much to you, Sarah, for partnering up to me. I've absolutely enjoyed it, and I'm so excited for our next lives.
I am so glad to be doing this as well. And for our last closing statement, just to let everybody know, not our next live together, because we will have another live together this January, but that's for our Wheel of the Year Sabbath series. But our next live in the Books of the Craft mini series is going to be in February, and it is over the Book of Shadows. And then our last live, not together, but in our Books of the Craft mini series, is going to be in March, and that's going to be over the Shadow Work Journal. But thank you, everybody, for catching the replay, taking the time to watch us over again, and for taking your time to comment. And thank you for everybody watching. Jenny says thank you. Sherry says thank you. Maggie says thank you. Kimberly says thank you. Kelly says you two were awesome to listen to and learn from. Thank you so much. And Elizabeth says you guys were awesome.
Thank you so much. All right. We will talk to you guys later then.
All right.